panic in that article by CNN. I just wish more of it would be reflected in his direction rather than mine. You know, I've got millions of dollars of panic headed my direction right now. It's really an interesting experience. I've never had someone try to portray me as a Nancy Pelosi lover before, but that seems to be the bent that Luther Strange's campaign has taken. Fortunately, up here in North Alabama, people understand I'm a conservative, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Let me talk a little bit about where I come from. First, it's always a pleasure to come back to Cullman County. I remember the days way back when I worked real hard to help Don Hale break the Republican-Democrat barrier here in Cullman County and put him into the Alabama State Senate, and many other people thereafter that we worked together with to try to improve our positioning as Republicans around the state of Alabama. But having said all that, let me mention a little bit about my background so that you'll have a better idea of where I'm coming from, in hopes that will give you a better idea of where I'm going. My mom and dad were born in Waynesville, North Carolina, in the Smokies. Very poor families on both sides. Dad's, by way of example, 7 kids. The dad disappeared, never to be heard from again, and my grandmother raised the 7 of them on a piano teacher's income. You can imagine how tough that was in the 1920s and 1930s. My mom, she can still remember when they got electricity. My grandfather put a little flywheel in a nearby creek with a little generator on it, wire up to the kitchen, they had a light bulb coming down. And from that, they learned the importance of a lot of things. They learned the importance of being honest in your interaction with the people around you, because you know what? You may need to help sometime, and you want to be candid with them. You want to have that good kind of trusting relationship. They learned the importance of hard work. With my dad, anything he could do to earn 5 cents, 10 cents, which back then was a good amount of money, they did to help support those 7 kids. They also learned the value of an education. Both of them were blessed with the ability to get a college degree. Granted, it was from that school in Orange up to the northeast a little bit, but still it was a college degree. Now, my mom and dad, they taught me those same things. Work ethic, study, and speak your mind. Be honest about it. Now, as you know, sometimes when I speak my mind, that gets me in trouble every now and then. But over the long haul, it's the belief system that I have and the way I should conduct myself, and so that's what I do. Now, in the 1970s, I met my lovely bride. She's at another event tonight, couldn't be here, unfortunately. We've been married for 41 years. Alabama's been very kind to us. We've had 4 kids, 3 kids-in-law now. All of them live in Alabama. 8 wonderful grandchildren. The oldest is 10 years old, and none of them live further than about 3 or 4 miles from our house. So we've been very blessed to have not only kids that have grown up and they do the right thing, they're married well, and they have wonderful families themselves, and being grandparents to those 8 kids is really a joy in our lives. Now, I got into politics back in 1982. Back then, the legislature was 136 Democrats, 4 Republicans. Statewide office holders, 31 Democrats, 0 Republicans. I was in my 20s, and quite frankly, I might not have known enough to know that a Republican couldn't win. But I had seen Jimmy Carter, and I'd seen Ronald Reagan, and I said, well, I'm not a Jimmy Carter, I'm a Ronald Reagan. I was blessed with the opportunity to meet Ronald Reagan. He and Jeff Sessions, quite frankly, are the 2 elected officials that I've personally met who I admire the most, of any that I've met, all of them put together. I have great respect for both of them. And so I ran as a Republican in 1982, and somehow we were able to succeed, and we broke the barrier here. I was the only elected Republican in the legislature north of Birmingham, the point of the spear. Tom Drake, Speaker of the House. You remember him, he's from Cullman County. And re-elected 3 more times, ran for the county commission. Family, growing up, as you can imagine, want to be home more. I was elected 4 times to the county commission, had to unseat an 8-year incumbent in order to do that. Then in 2010, ran for the United States Congress, in large part because I saw what Barack Obama was doing, the direction he was taking us, and it was the wrong direction. The deficits and debt that Roy Moore was talking about, I have an economics background, that's a dead-end path. One of my primary motivations for getting into this, along with Obamacare. Now, I want to emphasize something. Those 4 elections to the legislature, 4 to the county commission, and 4 to the United States Congress. That means I've been reelected 9 times, and that's a pass-fail test. That's where the people of the state of Alabama, who are my employers, make a decision whether I've done the kind of job for them that they want me to do. And I mentioned that their test of my work for them has been this. Not one time out of those 9 re-elections has any opponent, Republican primary or Democrat general, done any better than lose by 30 percentage points. And I mention that for this reason. I want you to know that if you honor me with this election, then I will serve you as I have served the people who have who have asked me to represent them in those 12 different elections, 9 of which were re-elections. Now, let me mention some issues that are relevant, I think, to this election right now. One is ethics. Folks, if you don't have honesty and you don't have ethics, if you can't tell people candidly what you believe, then you're doing a disservice to the people that you represent. And in that vein, served roughly 30 years in public service. I should add a couple of years as a Tuscaloosa prosecutor and also a couple of years as a Madison County prosecutor. Not one time have I had an ethics complaint filed against me with the Alabama Ethics Commission or with any federal government ethics oversight agency. And I'm proud of that record. I believe in the straight and narrow. That's what my parents taught me, and I've tried to live that as best I can. So if you're concerned about ethics in this election, I hope you will look at my record in that regard. And as you do so, think about this. You know, the only reason we have an election right now is because Governor Ivey perceived that there was an ethical cloud over the appointment process and declared this special election, which previously was set by the prior governor in 2018, in order to remove that ethical stain. That's what's costing taxpayers about $15 million that otherwise would have to be spent, is because of the ethical cloud over the appointment process. Now, in these campaigns, and y'all know this because you're involved in politics, a lot of times people will say things that they don't really mean. And a lot of times, voters are fooled. And a lot of times, voters are frustrated because the people they've elected don't do what they say they're going to do. And in that vein, I want you to not so much listen to what I have to say, but look at my record. Because there are people you can go to, things you can research on the internet, that will help you determine whether I really do what I say I'm going to do. By way of example, when I was in the legislature, I was ranked #1 out of 140 legislators in the fight against higher taxes that take more money out of your family incomes. That ranking by the Alabama Taxpayers Defense Fund. While in Washington, if you like the Club for Growth, if you like the National Conservative Union, if you like the American Conservative Union, what those 3 entities stand for, every single year that I've been in the United States Congress, I've ranked in the top 20%, no worse than that, with those 3 entities. Usually better than that, but certainly never worse than top 20% out of 435 congressmen. If you like the Heritage Foundation, which focuses on issues related to foundational principles. Again, I'm not just talking the talk here, I'm walking the walk, and that's what you get if you put me in the United States Senate. Heritage Action, which is the political action wing of the Heritage Foundation, this past session of Congress, ranked Mo Brooks, your congressman just to the north, #6 out of 435 congressmen in protecting the foundational principles that have combined to make America the greatest nation in world history. If you believe in border security, of course you can ask Jeff Sessions. We worked together for 6 years trying to do what we could to protect American families and American jobs from the debilitating effect of the huge surge in the labor supply by illegal aliens, the adverse effect they have on wages, and the jobs that are taken, the opportunities that are lost to American citizens. Well, Numbers USA is generally perceived to be the #1 ranking group in evaluating our records in Washington, D.C. And the gentleman standing at this microphone right now, for 6 straight years, is ranked #1 out of 435 congressmen, a perfect score, 100%, each year out of every 6 years. So if those are the kind of issues that motivate you, then please don't rely on my word. You can look all this stuff up on the internet. Go to the websites of these different agencies and entities, and you can determine for yourself whether I not only walk the walk but also talk the talk. Now, the incumbent in this race is trying to deceive you. He is trying to con you. They believe that I'm the primary threat, and that's why they're spending millions of dollars right now to try to make sure that I don't make a runoff with them. And they want you to believe that I'm a never-Trumper. Well, I think a better case can be made that he's a never-Trumper. And I was hoping Luther Strange would be here because I wanted to confront him face-to-face, but as often the case, he doesn't show up for these things. Now today, maybe it was an airplane problem because I had the same kind of issue, but I was able to make it. I don't know why he was not. But in those attack ads that they launched, and by way of background, I was Ted Cruz's state chairman. Not only through the Republican primary in the state of Alabama, but also one of his national spokesmen all the way through the end of the primary process, going to the Republican National Convention. And you never notice in any of those Luther Strange attack ads, this document here. You remember the Hollywood Access tape when a lot of congressmen and other elected officials started going the wrong way? This check was written 2 days after Hollywood Access, October the 11th. And it's a $2,500 check, money I raised and I wrote to help Donald Trump win the state of Florida with the Alabama strike force. So when he tells you that I was never for Donald Trump, that is bunk. Now, do I wish that we'd had what I felt was a candidate that was stronger in particular ways? Absolutely. But quite clearly, he was light years ahead of Hillary Clinton. And hence this $2,500 check that never appears in any of those attack ads as he tries to deceive your economy, the Alabama people, into thinking I'm something I'm not. And quite frankly, it's insulting. You all know from North Alabama how long I've been in the trenches here, and I'm a member of the House Freedom Caucus, and to put out brochures that looks like I'm married to Nancy Pelosi on the one hand and Elizabeth Warren on the other, that is absolutely false. But unfortunately, the people in the middle part of the state and the southern part of the state don't know me as well as y'all do up here in North Alabama. They know up in Washington that they have millions of dollars, and we all up here, we have limited funds, so they can get away with whatever attack ads they want, knowing that we don't have the capability to respond. So it's up to y'all to get the word out in this primary, and if Luther Strange makes the runoff, whoever the other person is against Luther Strange in that runoff, that in that runoff. But having said that, part of this is a diversionary tactic. Luther Strange does not want the issue to be about ethics. He does not want this campaign to be about honesty and whether there was or was not an ongoing criminal investigation of the governor while he is seeking an appointment from the governor. He does not want it to be about whether you support Donald Trump right now in 2017. And in that vein, let me mention a couple of things about my record with the Trump administration. I'm behind the Make America First agenda, and I am supporting President Trump's agenda. You can go to 538.com, and we have different groups that evaluate us, and they say this is the White House position, this is how congressmen and senators have voted. If you believe 538.com, I have a 95% voting record with the Trump administration out of over 300 votes cast so far this year as a United States congressman. Generally, 95% is considered to be an A, maybe an A+. But here's the real interesting thing. The two votes that they say I wasn't with the Trump administration on, one was a spending bill in April that didn't have money for the wall, and I voted against it because it didn't have money for the wall. I kind of thought that was support of President Donald Trump. The second one, and there are only two, the second one was whether internet service providers should be allowed to take your personal internet information and sell it to third parties. And I don't think that's right. I want to protect your privacy rights. And I disagree with 538 that the White House took a different position, but maybe they did and I didn't know about it. But there's a huge issue out there. And by the way, that record's better than the incumbents. But there's a huge issue out there. And that's the 60% rule in the United States Senate. The 60% rule is this. It takes 60% of the vote to pass a bill in the United States Senate unless it's under budget reconciliation, which you can do one time per year. And that failed with the Obamacare repeal bill over the last 24 hours. And what that means is that every single major conservative agenda item is dead. Every single major Republican agenda item is dead. And every single major agenda item of the Trump administration is dead, unless we can get Chuck Schumer and the Democrats to vote for it. Because we only have 52 Republicans. Now, those 52 Republicans can change the rules. That 60% rule is not in the Constitution. Arguably, as I've heard Roy Moore say, it's a violation of the Constitution. It's not in a federal statute. It's a rule that our 52 Republican senators can change anytime they want. I'm for elimination of that rule so that we can get our agenda through the United States Senate. I don't want to have to grovel at the feet of Chuck Schumer. President Trump gets it. Twice he has asked the United States Senate to get rid of that 60% rule and go with majority rule. The U.S. Senate should switch to 51 votes immediately and get blah, blah, blah passed and approved. Change the rules now to 50%. Now, he does it by tweets, not news releases. And y'all can look up those tweets. But those pleas by the president to our Republican senators, too many of them are falling on deaf ears. And one of those is the person who's not here tonight. I have in my hands a letter signed by Luther Strange to Chuck Schumer, of all people, and Mitch McConnell, who I think ought to be gone, because he's not doing a very good job. And that letter urges, that's their word, the United States Senate and the Senate leadership to keep that 60% rule that's going to kill our entire agenda. Now, that's a big difference. I mean, you can defend the 60% rule. I understand the short-term arguments for it. But long-term, it has worked against our values for at least the last 90 years, because not one time in the last 90 years have we had a supermajority of 60% or more where we can reverse the damage done by the socialists and the Democrats. Now, to put it in perspective, the Democrats have had over 20 years in which they've had a supermajority. The 1930s, the 1960s, remember all those welfare programs we can't afford that undermined the work ethic? And lo and behold, 2009 when Obamacare passed. So long term, it's deadly for us. And we have to get rid of it. And I pledge to you that I not only vote to get rid of it, I'll work to get rid of it. And as the opportunity arises, I personally think we need to have a bolder vision, a stronger vision, a conservative vision coming from the Senate Majority Leader. And that's why I've committed to you and the people of America that if I'm elected to the United States Senate, I want a different Senate Majority Leader who at least can get a repeal of Obamacare or some semblance of it through the United States Senate. Now, I'm going to conclude with this comment. Again, don't rely on my words, rely on others. Luther Strange wants you to believe I'm somebody I'm not. And you can believe your own eyes, you can look at the check. But there are also some other people that he's telling you aren't very honest, because they have endorsed my campaign. And I want to share with you some of their words. Maybe y'all have heard of some of these conservative thought leaders. Ann Coulter. Alabama has a chance this year to save the country by sending Congressman Mo Brooks to the United States Senate. We're at a tipping point. There's never been a more crucial time to send men like Mo Brooks to the Senate. Alabama and America needs Senator Mo Brooks in the U.S. Senate. I wholeheartedly endorse Congressman Mo Brooks. Maybe you've heard of another one, Sean Hannity. Hardly a fan of Nancy Pelosi, as Luther Strange wants you to think I am. Quote, Mo Brooks will support President Trump's America First agenda. He is the proven conservative we need in the Senate. Support Mo Brooks for Senate. Laura Ingraham. Congressman Mo Brooks, I'm endorsing you in this race because I think it's really important that we have principled conservatives in Congress. Luther Strange is the favorite of all the people who, in my mind, have been a problem for conservatism in the last 20 years, all the big powers. But I stand on my principles. Mo Brooks, endorsed by me here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Mark Levin. Mo Brooks is a standout. He has demonstrated it already as a member of the House of Representatives. He's a reliable conservative, and ladies and gentlemen, we need more reliable, principled conservatives. Mo Brooks, he would be a great senator. The list goes on and on. Yesterday, Tea Party Patriots, national organization, endorsed. Students for Trump endorsed. They have about 20,000 people. Don't rely on me. Look these things up and rely on third parties. And to the extent you respect the judgment of the people I've mentioned and many more, but I'm lacking time to go through them all. I ask you to decide for yourself, what does the evidence suggest is the truth about the rather scurrilous attacks on my reputation, a reputation I've built as a conservative for the last 35 years as the point of the spear here in North Alabama for the Republican Party of the state of Alabama. And if I seem a little bit angry, I am angry. I don't like the position I'm in, where I have to stand here and take these false bullets because the special interest groups don't want a principled conservative in the United States Senate. They're afraid of that. And they're only getting away with it because they know I don't have the resources, the money, to be able to adequately respond and point out the falsity of the attacks that are being launched. But you folks can play a role in that, not only in this primary, but again, if Luther Strange makes the runoff, whoever's in that runoff, you're going to see a duplicate of what has transpired, and we need to make sure that the people of Alabama are not conned, that they are not fooled. So I'm Mo Brooks. I'm a United States Congressman just to the north of you. I appreciate the time you spent with me. I apologize if I'm not folksy. It's not my nature. I apologize if I'm serious, but we have serious problems, and I'm a serious candidate, and I ask for your support and vote.